have a new host for today. I'm filling in for Jamie, so you're gonna have to put up with me. So, um, pardon any differences in style, but as usual, we like to promote what we're doing around here. So I'm gonna go through some events that we have coming, and we hope that you can attend and then we'll pass it over to Josh, who's going to walk through our NetSuite demo, and we're excited that you guys could join us for today. So just coming up next week on Tech Thursday, we have our live Acumatica demo, which will be exciting for to showcase that. That's our newest partnership that we've signed there. So looking forward to that. In addition, we have our exclusive AHA with Amplify event. That will be with a co-share with Amplify and Avanti, live discussion about their entrepreneurial story, their search funds, and how tech can save you money. So that would be Thursday, April 4th, 2024. You must be a member. So if you're not a member, register on our newsletter, and if you're having trouble with that, please get in touch with us. On April 16th, we have our another AHA. It's our very own Amplify recruiting team talking about the hot topics of talent and what we're seeing from a marketplace perspective and tips and tricks. And that will be an exciting Tuesday event. On May 21st, we have Personal CFO, another AHA event. So that will be exciting, talking about personal finances, which is always near and dear to everyone's heart, I'm sure. And finally, HR, we'll have another AHA with Amplify June 18th. It'll be around HR and people. So that will be kind of a build on probably of our recruiting team's discussions, and once you've actually brought them in the door, what you should be thinking about there. Just a reminder, we have our contest going for a free implementation. So if that's something that you're looking at and you're in the ERP buying space right now, ensure to get in contact with us there. That's everything from me. Short and sweet, probably a little shorter than what Jamie would normally do, but that's kind of that's her deal. And I like to put the show to the star, which is going to be Josh doing his demo of NetSuite. So looking forward to it. Josh, hand it over to you.
Appreciate it. Share my screen. So hopefully everybody can see NetSuite right now. It's open right. Okay, perfect. So I'm currently logged into NetSuite. You should be looking at my home dashboard. Just a reminder for everybody, or new information if you're brand new to the system, but NetSuite is entirely built in the cloud, so fully web-based. So whether it's your computer, smartphone, or iPad, anything with a wireless connection and a browser to access the internet, you can access your NetSuite instance. I'm currently logged on my computer right now using the Safari browser. And you'll notice in the top right corner, you'll see I'm in my sales manager role. So NetSuite is a fully role-based system, which allows us to control exactly what your users can or cannot see, what permissions they should have access to, and what their general NetSuite layout should look like to allow them to perform their role within the system the most efficiently. So since I'm in my sales manager role right now, you'll notice a lot of my dashboard is sales specific. Big and bold at the top in my tiles portlet. You'll see I can access my open estimates, my forecast, open sales order, and customer aging. There's a few portlets I want to point out here specifically on my home dashboard. And for those of you who aren't aware, a portlet is just one of these little widgets here that NetSuite allows us to drag and drop so we can move around as needed. I like my reminders on the left side, so I'm going to move that one back. But you'll notice here, the reminder shows me everything I need to action. So I can tell in my sales manager role, I have 2 calls I need to complete. If I click into this, it will show me exactly who and what I need to do. Just get rid of this reminder. So I have a call scheduled to follow up with Bailey. I know what date it is, what phone number. Go back to my home dashboard. And then I can also see I have 5 event invitations to respond to, 7 sales orders to print. The next portlet I want to specifically point out would be my KPIs, my key performance indicators. And again, sales manager role, so all of my KPIs are related to my role. I can see I have new customers that is down this month from 9 to 10. Everything within NetSuite has drill through. So if I press on this, I can see exactly who those 10 would be. I can click through one more time, right down to the record. And I can see all of the details that makes up this customer. So I can see Channing Inc., what subsidiary it relates to, what category. So just quickly pause here and add that every record in NetSuite, and this is an example of one record, this would be our customer record, is completely customizable. So the details, what's displayed here, we have full control over. So if there was anything specific to your industry or your company in general that you wanted to record on a specific record, we have the ability to add that in here and then build the processes for your staff to fill it out. And then once it's recorded and filled out, we can report off of it later down the road. I'm going to jump back to my home dashboard here using my house icon. So we quickly looked at the reminders portlet on the left side, and then our KPI portlet in the middle here. The next one I want to show is just going down one more, and it's our monthly open opportunities trend. So this is just an example of one of the many graphical displays NetSuite allows us to show on our dashboard. You can see here, I can press and change how I want these metrics to be displayed graphically. That gives the end user a little control on what their personal preference is, what's easiest to consume for the individual. One great thing about these dashboards is you have the freedom to modify yours, and users in the same role in the same NetSuite instance, it doesn't affect them. So everybody can personalize so they get the best personal experience. Another really cool thing I want to point out on the dashboard requires me to switch to my CFO role. So I'm going to just hover over here, scroll down and select my CFO role. In this instance, you can see I have multiple roles assigned to myself for the demo. Typically, a user wouldn't have this many roles. Once this loads here, what I wanted to show is the subsidiary navigator. For all the businesses out there who have multiple entities, perhaps in multiple currencies, multiple countries, your subsidiary navigator allows you to select and dial in on one subsidiary and filter all the details and information to that subsidiary. So right now we're at the parent level, and I can see my sales metrics is up 9.6%. If I click into my US2 subsidiary, you'll see that everything refreshes in the background and all of the data is completely customized to that specific subsidiary. Now, if it was a different currency, same thing, it would change to match the subsidiary's currency. Switch through. So just another way that shows how NetSuite supports multiple levels of consolidation, multiple entities, multiple countries, multiple currencies, multiple classifications, you name it. Okay. While we're here on the home dashboard, the next thing I want to point out is NetSuite's this blue bar you'll see along the top here. This is what we call our main navigation bar. This is what's going to help me navigate the system most conveniently. So I know whenever I'm looking for something, I just find my header. Let's say I'm looking to find my customers within the system. I'll find my customers header. Then I'll go to lists. I see my customers here, and then I can click on it. I'll open it up in a new tab. And just like that, I can see all of my customers in the system. I see I have 339. And I can apply any filters as needed. Currently on this page in the filters, I can filter by sales rep and by stage. Do I want to see them in the customer stage? Perhaps just brand new prospects? And again, just about everything in NetSuite, this is completely customizable. So if you need any additional filters, maybe you want to see all your customers in a specific industry, you have the ability to do that. Just makes consuming the data, especially when it gets large data sets like thousands of customers, a lot easier. And I'll just go through that one more time, just to point out that NetSuite is hover and then click. So I first hover over my customers, hover over lists, hover over customers, and then once I found my final destination, that's when I'll click through. Okay. Alternatively, NetSuite does also have a global search bar. This is very similar to a Google search. So in this page here, I can type in customer. And then you'll see a lot of options will appear related to customers. So I know it's the page I'm looking for, page customer. And then once that loads, I want a new customer. And then I'll select right here. And then it will take me to my record to input new customers. Just like that. You'll notice in the top left corner, there's this field here called forms. So if I wanted multiple customer forms, perhaps you had different details, different KYC details for different entities. Each entity can have its own specific form that's applicable to that specific entity. So no need to display information that's not relevant. You have full control over that. Another thing that helps make NetSuite a little bit more user-friendly is this star right here. In the modern world, we're all used to shortcuts. We use it on our browser all the time. So while I'm on this record, if I press add to shortcuts, oh, it opened in a different tab. I'm just going to save this and go back. You'll see right here, if I go to my home dashboard and leave this page, and I hover up, I can see my customer shortcut. So I can press on this and quickly navigate right back to my original page. So I recommend doing this for any records that you frequently find yourself visiting within your NetSuite instance. Just makes it very easy to jump back and forth between your most frequented tabs. While we're also here, NetSuite also does have a built-in help center. So if I press on this, it takes me right to NetSuite's help center. That is a ginormous database of articles, videos, showing you all the functionality that's available and information that can help you resolve issues if they arise. You'll notice that it does have intelligence in the background. So I clicked help while on my customer page, and it directly took me to the customer part of the help center. So I recommend if you ever run into an issue, stopping right there and pressing help, it will just save you some navigation time down the road.
Josh, there's a quick question here. I assume a customer can have multiple orders without having to repeatedly add customer info.
Exactly. Yep. So your customer master, you'd only set up one time ever, and then all the information is stored with it. So you can order numerous times, and that will allow you to then track down the road trends with that specific customer, what they order most frequently, etc. Within the Help Center, the next thing I want to point out is the Suite Answers tab in the top left corner here. Suite Answers brings together experts in the community, and it allows end users like myself to post questions and issues whenever they arise. And it's a good place to come for information if you run into an error. So an example that NetSuite gives us here is ask, what is my account ID? You can type that in. I'll search it. And it's likely that a user in the system has had the same issue as you. They've posted the question and an expert has come to the rescue to answer it. So we can see if I point into this one, it would give me information like I can just look at my URL to find my account's ID. Again, just one of the many features in NetSuite's Help Center that makes solutioning a lot easier and intuitive for the end user, and may save you some hassle down the road. Okay. Next, I'd like to jump into the recent records tab. That's again along our main navigation bar. Just another thing that makes navigating your NetSuite experience a lot easier. So if you find yourself, you've lost your NetSuite tab, all the recent things that would have been reviewed appear right here, and you can click right back in to it. Just like that, I can see my invoice for Charter Bridge Inc. Okay, for the next stage of the demo, I'm going to switch roles to my administrator role. That gives me full functionality, full access to everything in the system. And we're going to look at NetSuite saved searches. So what saved searches are, in my opinion, NetSuite's most powerful tool. It gives us the ability to pull information, anything that's recorded in our NetSuite instance, into one spot, giving us the ability to report on it. So I'll get there by going to List, Search, Save Search, New. And if I just scroll here for a little bit, we can see just how many pre-built search types NetSuite has. So I'm sure most of you, in whatever accounting system or tool you're currently using, you find yourself looking for information. So Save Search is a way to query that information. So on today's call, we'll quickly go through a transaction save search. So I'm just going to Control F on my keyboard and look for the transaction option, which I can find right here. And once that loads, we'll pull a basic query. So I'll show you guys just how easy and convenient it is for the end user to pull information. No need for an advanced consultant. So I'll give my save search a name. Perhaps we'll go with sales orders greater than $10,000. And then I'll go to my criteria tab to set the criteria of this save search. So I know it's a transaction save search, so I'll set the type. And the type will be sales order. Go to the S's, found that right there. And then now I know I want the amount. And I want the amount to be greater than 10,000. I'll set that. And then I will save and run my search. And we can see right here, we have returned 116 results. So NetSuite has found us 116 unique sales orders that are greater than this $10,000 amount. And the possibilities are limitless for this save search functionality and the different display options. So we could create a graphical query. We can do a report type like what I've displayed right here. And we can also modify all of the columns that we are presented. So as long as the information exists within NetSuite, we can find it and we can report on it. Just quickly pause here, Jesse, to make sure I haven't missed any questions before I keep going.
Yeah, one question here. What is the sales audit for?
What is the sales audit for? Was that on the home dashboard?
Yeah, I
Yep,
think.
that's my sales manager role.
Or it's the audit log there, maybe. Audit log there. Yes, I think it's the audit log.
The audit log. So there's multiple audits, whether that's user login audit, but they're pre-built reports that allow you to drill into and see what makes up the information on whatever you're auditing within the NetSuite instance.
And maybe if you go back to that last role, you can see as administrator, you can monitor activity within the system.
Yeah. So system notes audit. So we can see for a given record, who did what. So we can see the system set the name to this value. The user who did it was Trisha in the system, and all the values that were set.
Awesome.
Perfect. Any other questions at all?
None showing. Charge ahead.
Perfect. So next we will jump into NetSuite's reporting. So I know this was a question that came up in previous sessions. A lot of people want to see the reporting functionality. So I'll go to my reports tab here. And we can see that pre-configured out of the box, NetSuite gives us a lot of available reports. Right here, we can see some of the categories. So there are purchasing related reports. For a business that has inventory, the inventory items reports would be very valuable. So I'll expand all so you can see just how many that come completely pre-configured out of the box when you first install your NetSuite module. Again, a lot of these reports will come with the information you're looking for, and a huge time saver is that since they are pre-configured, any changes we need to make are a lot easier because we have the original template to build off of. So if I pick one report to take a quick look at, sales by customer, we can see if I modify the date range, I'll go way out into the future.
Or you could just type it, Josh.
Yeah, I'd probably save some time. Change this to 24. We can see listed by customer the dollar amount of the sale between the given date range that we have full freedom to customize. You can see I'm running at a consolidated level, so I can see for all entities. We also have the ability to change the column. So perhaps I wanted to query by subsidiary what our sales by customers would be. I can then see for sub 1 and sub 2 how much each customer was sold to them, and then totaling in the last column. We can also do it by location. Give an example of that. So this is showing our locations within each entity. And then of course by department, accounting period, you name it. We can slice and dice the data to show exactly what we need to find. Go into our subsidiary context. I don't have to do it at the consolidated level either. I can jump into one specific sub, refresh, and then as easy as that, no advanced coding degree necessary. Any end user has the ability to completely customize the data to see what they're looking for. Go back into my reports window here by clicking on this, and then I'll find a financial report. If I use my balance sheet, again, I can change my subsidiary context. I'll change it to the whole company. And then let's change my dates. Let's go to something. Let's go to our current month and year. And we can see our completely pre-configured balance sheet that NetSuite gives us out of the box based off of our chart of account structure defined in our chart of accounts page. Same functionality that we saw on the previous screen, we can modify the columns again here by department. And we can see it broken out by department. If I go to the bottom right corner on the screen, NetSuite gives us the ability to export out our information into Excel, PDF, CSV, Word documents. We can also do scheduled reports. So if you know for your Monday morning meeting with the stakeholder team, you need this information delivered to your inbox to present. You can automate that so no remembering needed on your end. NetSuite can handle that for you. It can also be printed and emailed out. Great. So that's NetSuite.
Another question, Josh. Question is, we have paper records of customers going back to the 60s. Even though the actual sale info is out of date, we'd like to add the address where work was done. One, I assume we can bulk add this info. And two, can we heat map the locations for targeted marketing?
So yes, so NetSuite does support multiple addresses for a customer. So if you have some really outdated ones from back in the 60s, I believe you said, we can
Yeah.
input those as well as their up-to-date location if that would have changed. NetSuite also does allow us to drag and drop files into the system. So if you have the PDFs, you can drop that in with your customer record. So it's stored there and anybody in the future can access it as needed. And then in terms of marketing, NetSuite does have marketing automation tools. So if you want to run campaigns for customers in specific locations, absolutely. As long as in that customer record, you put that address in and that location, we can then filter by that customer to run those campaigns down the road. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Good to proceed, Jesse. No more questions?
Nope, that's it. Moving
All
on.
right, excellent. So we quickly ran through NetSuite's two main reporting tools. It's reports and then it's Save Search. Now I'm going to get into a little bit of a live tutorial here. We'll focus on what most businesses have, which would be an order to cash process. Typically a business is selling something. So to do that, I'm going to switch from my administrator role in the top here to my sales manager role right here. And we are going to start at the opportunity phase. So again, like I pointed out earlier, main navigation bar, I know I'm looking for opportunities, transactions, opportunities. I'll open that up. And right here, we can see all 22 opportunities that are in the close won stage, meaning we know these ones have already gone through to completion, they're won. If I change my filter here to open, we can see what's currently in progress, and then we can see the status. So in discussion, proposal, and negotiation, and then the probability of it closing. Later on, when we're looking at our pipeline and forecast, we can use these weighted projected totals to figure out, do our calculations on what we expect to close and what dollar amount that would translate into. I'm going to jump back into my close won status. And the one I want to quickly take a look at is this first one here for our customer Boutique 21 iPad for POS system. I'll click in and open up this opportunity. And essentially what an opportunity is in NetSuite is one of your sales reps has identified a potential sale. They've inputted all the information related to that sale so that we can track it and then progress it through the pipeline. So this opportunity we can see is for an iPad for a POS system. We're a company with items, so we've recorded what item it was at the bottom here. We've also set a rate, a quantity, and therefore we know the amount.
And Josh, will you be going through items?
Sure will, yeah.
Okay. I'll hold
This
my
could be,
question.
for sure, this could be a good place to pause quickly and jump into items before we progress on the sale.
Yeah.
Open this one up as an example. So while this loads here, I'll quickly talk through the different types of items NetSuite has. So our main three would be our inventory, non-inventory, and service. So inventory being, of course, what you track within the system, track it from order all the way to sale. Non-inventory items who inventory levels we don't keep a track of. So we purchase it from our vendors, but when we consume them, that's not being recorded within the system. There still is there would be no receiving or consuming
But you could if you wanted to.
if you did need to track that. Yeah,
I think the big thing that I always point out on this is that inventory items are really available for sale. Non-inventory items are internal assets that you want to track and depreciate, and service items are just that, non-trackable items and services that you sell.
for sure. And the main benefit of service items as well is that your staff can book time to them. So
Yes.
if you perform the service, you perform the work completing that service on your timesheet, you can enter those details. Really good for costing in the background.
Yep.
So up on our screen right here, we have an iPad, which is an example of an inventory item. So we've tracked the name number of this, the vendor name, as well as our display name. In this case, it is the same, but you'll typically see items with a unique code or numbering convention that's not very intuitive to your employees or your end users. So display name makes it a lot easier for them to identify it in the system. Items can be segmented. We can see we're using department, class, and locations here, but it's completely lists the opportunities. If you have multiple segments, perhaps some that are industry specific, we can add those in as well. One thing that's not inputted here would be the units type, but that's a very important one. How are they purchased? How do you sell them? Is it each? Do they come in a box of 50? How do you like to stock them? So those would be really valuable inputs to put into our record. Another thing I want to point out here is how the pricing. So we can see the last purchase price in this item was $540. This will allow you to track price increases with your vendor. You may have multiple vendors who sell this item, a preferred vendor, and then other vendors who also carrying it in case your preferred vendor is not available. So with the last purchase price, you track those price increases. So you know, okay, my preferred vendor is now increased above some of my other vendors. Perhaps I need to reconsider who the preferred vendor should be. Down here, we can see our vendors. Perhaps you have different vendors for each subsidiary. Perhaps you purchase them all at one subsidiary to take advantage of that purchasing power, and then you internally do transfer orders to move them around as needed. So lots of flexibility around what makes the most sense for your business. You can see here we have the locations tab. As this is an inventory item, there are physical locations where we're going to keep this. So we can look in and see the quantity on hand at each specific location, and then the value of that inventory based on the average cost and last purchase price. So really good insights into how much you have sitting and where it's sitting. Jesse, anything you want to add here on inventory items?
Not maybe specifically on inventory items, but maybe a bit on kind of accounting treatment. If you want to go over there, there you
For
go.
sure.
And just on revenue recognition, things of that nature.
Absolutely. So for each item, we have the flexibility to set up the specific income and expense accounts, variance accounts, intercompany asset, you name it, whatever is applicable for that item. And then also its tax schedule. So whether or not this item is taxable when it appears on orders, what that tax rate should look like. So we do have that flexibility. In terms of revenue recognition, that's probably best displayed later on when we look at our sales order form. But
Yep,
NetSuite gives us the flexibility to determine how we do recognize that revenue.
yep. And what about FIFO and LIFO and average costing methods of the inventory?
Yeah, so that's super important, especially when it comes to around items that expire. How are you
Mhm.
consuming that industry inventory? Um, so FIFO would be, first in, first out. That's what we do typically see. But sometimes based on purchase price, companies will change those rules. They want to consume the least expensive items first or the most expensive. So we do have the flexibility, whatever makes the most sense.
Another question, are you able to choose which accounting standards are used, IFRS or US GAAP in NetSuite? Do you want me to take that one, Josh?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So, yes, you can choose for your primary account, uh, one gap. There's a supplemental module called multi-book, and that allows for you to actually run separate books under different accounting policies. So you might have IFRS as your main reporting currency consolidated. And if you have the multi-book um, module, you could run a subsidiary using that multi-book feature with US GAAP and maintain those conversion differences using the multi-book feature. So hopefully that answers your question.
Excellent. All right. Are we good to proceed? Have we answered all the questions?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to jump directly to the sales order just to be keep time in mind. So I'm going to go to my main navigation bar at the top here and type in sales order. And then I'll go to my enter sales order page. And then we can see here what our sales order form looks like. Again, completely customizable. We can include exactly what fields we need to display based on what information we need to track. And then we can also use the system's workflows to automate what gets filled out. Um, Perhaps the sales rep, we can always automate to the current user, and that would just save your end users one field they need to input. So there's things like that that we can use the system to automate and just make it a little bit smoother and more efficient.
Yeah, and I think that's important to point out there that, part of your implementation would be planning all those different business requirements that you would have. So, the system comes very pre-built, so to speak, and um, from there you personalize your experience within NetSuite. If there are functional gaps, i.e., um, you know, the existing out of the box functionality doesn't meet the business requirements, um, there's a term called suite scripting. So NetSuite is built on Suite Script, which is a JavaScript kind of own language within NetSuite, and technical resources from the team can script in some of that functionality required.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jesse. So I'll press on my list button in the top right corner, and that will take me to a list of our open sales orders. I can see I have one here for Blockster for 1,500. I'll view this one. Scroll down to the bottom so we can quickly review what items we've sold to them. It would be a Dell computer. We can see how much we have on hand and how much is available and how many potentially are committed to other orders. That gives your sales reps the confidence to know if they are selling an item, they know it actually is available and can be fulfilled. We'll also keep scrolling. We can see our tax code that we previously talked about. We know this item's not taxable, so no issues there for the sales reps. So if we use the example of a typical order to cash process, we quickly reviewed the opportunity at the start. That has since progressed into a closed sales order, meaning the customer has agreed to the sale. From this sales order, we'll then need to invoice this customer. If I go to my related records tab on this order, we can see that what that invoice looks like. I'll open that up in a new tab. And we can see it's been paid in full. So started with an opportunity, then progressed to a sales order that the customer agreed to. We then invoice the customer for that. Customer has reviewed the terms of this invoice and has since paid us. We can see the full amount has been paid since the amount due is 0. We've tracked all the relevant information. We know who our sales rep is. If you're a business with commissions, that's going to be really important for paying that out later on. And again, down at the bottom here, we can verify that the item on the sales order matches the item on the invoice, knowing we sold this customer and invoiced the correct thing. We can go to our billing tab to review the billing information of the customer who is going to. The accounting tab, where we can see our profits and cost related information. Gross profit as a percentage. Again, these fields are customizable, so if there's more information you need tracked here, we have the flexibility to do that. And then finally, our related records, tracking that payment in the deposited status, so we know it's hit our books, and the sale has been completed. Any questions here before I move on?
Yeah, a few questions. One question is, ignoring the accounting side for the moment, can we have multiple companies in different industries being consolidated? We'd have to look at account mapping to make it work. You have any thoughts on that? I have a couple, but I'll let you start.
So firstly, yes, as long as all of the entities relate to each other. So NetSuite will accommodate multiple entities. I think the limit is 150 or 250, so it is quite a large number. With multiple industries, luckily we can use multiple custom forms to make sure whatever entity it is you're working with, the correct information specific to that industry is being tracked. So that makes it a lot easier on the end users.
Yeah, I think the a good example would be like, but let's say you own a hotel business and then you own a construction company.
I see.
I think if your industries are that different, I would probably end up pointing that client or that prospect to a different approach, which is different instances, but using NetSuite's I think it's called EPM, right, Josh? The consolidated database, where you can bring in all the data into from a reporting standpoint, and using that to, from a reporting business needs perspective. Does that make sense to you, Josh?
That does, I guess. NetSuite does have the specific verticals, so if the verticals are absolutely conflicting, you'll notice that yeah, it probably wouldn't be the best fit to have a manufacturing business and then also a hospitality business trying to
Exactly.
opposite
Trying to
verticals.
do it. But you could easily use on top of both those verticals, their data warehouse module, which allows you to bring in not just those NetSuite data, but also other data points from other data sources that you need to do. So that is always, the example was manufacturing, construction, installation, and properties, which are all fairly similar, not exactly similar, but manufacturing, construction, probably not. Installation properties, maybe. So really, in a lot of these situations, it really depends on the details and the pre-work done in terms of scoping on what the right setup is uh, within NetSuite.
For sure.
One other question that is asked: are you able to specifically name some entities in Calgary or Alberta that use NetSuite? Just from that perspective, as part of our sales cycle, if depending on the industry that you're in, we usually are more than willing to give references to same or similar companies so that you can do your own due diligence with those customers that are running NetSuite. There'd be many, many, many companies that are in Calgary and Alberta that use NetSuite. So I won't get specific in terms of who those are, but yes, there are many. Go ahead, Josh.
Great. Okay, so we just saw our opportunity, sales order to invoice, and then finally we notice at the bottom that the payment has occurred and it's been deposited for this invoice, showing it's complete. If I go to my little this one right here, this icon, it's like a document with a plus sign. It allows us to create things on a specific record. And one thing I want to point out is the task. So I'll open up the task. Oh, I need to share a different screen. I'll adjust that quickly. Okay, you should now see my task screen. So right from this record, I can create a task for myself, thanking them for the sale. Assign it. I'm currently logged in as Joel. I can give myself an email, and I can set the start and due date for that specific task, priority and status. Again, completely customizable. Save this. Re-update my screen. And then if I go to my my communications, under my activities, I can see that task exists, who it belongs to, who it's assigned to, and the status of it. So with the reminders we would have reviewed at the start of this call, as well as any future reminders like those that are created for tasks that are coming due, NetSuite does allow us to remind on the home dashboard, as well as emails that can be sent on a schedule. Perhaps you want them all sent out every morning at 9 a.m. when you're just starting out for the day, or it could be throughout the day as the task or the actionable item arises. For users.
I missed a couple questions, Josh, on Q&A here. One is the other data connected via ODBC?
So is that in relation to the two NetSuite instances?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That one probably best we take offline and we'll confirm what exactly that connection looks like.
Okay. Yeah. So if you want to inquire more, please reach out on that and we can certainly provide a better answer based on more details. Other question would be, how is landed cost addressed in inventory?
Yeah, so NetSuite does have a full landed cost module. So your shipping costs, what the item costs, even down to the time spent with your sales rep, NetSuite does have full landed cost calculation capability. With its own math in the background, we do have the functionality to override that math if your business specific calculations are different from NetSuite's, but the functionality does exist. It was that all that we missed? Yep, perfect. All right. So I'm gonna jump out of sales back to my administrator. And again, the reason for changing roles is being a role-based system, what you can or cannot access is specific to the role, and administrator gives me the freedom to see everything. So we took a quick look on the sales side, items, and now we can move into the purchasing side of NetSuite. So within NetSuite, we call that the procure to pay process. And that starts all the way from vendor creation, purchase requisition if you use requisitions, through to a purchase order, item receipt, vendor bill, and then three-way match to verify that they all align. So I will get there by navigating to transactions, purchases, enter purchase orders. And again, NetSuite's hover, then click once you found your end place. And we can take a look at one of our purchase orders that exists in the system. We can see our vendor is called Brocade Communication Systems, and this one's in the status of fully built. So we can see what location we're purchasing for, and we know it is an inventory item, the extension switch. So, and we can see how many was received, how many was billed, and how many we currently have on hand. So NetSuite does allow us to set replenishment rules. So we can automate this purchase order process. Let's say you have a specific item that you'd never want to let get below 20 items. Once your staff is using and consuming those items or selling or whatever your process looks like, and your inventory balances start to decrease, based on those replenishment rules, NetSuite will automatically reorder from our customer at the amount we have defined. We can also commit some items to orders. So if this order that I currently have here for 2 items was for a later sale, I can commit this purchase order to that sales order, meaning when these items do arrive at the warehouse, you don't have to worry about one of your sales reps selling it to somebody else or doing something else with them. We know it's allocated, and therefore it wouldn't show up as available on another order. I do want to point out the vendor that's related to this purchase order, who we're purchasing from. This was likely the preferred vendor for this item, why it was selected. I'll open up this record here, which will store all of our vendor-specific information, how to contact them, their purchase price changes over the years, what items they have available, where they're located, and how to contact them. You'll notice in the top left corner, we have this little logo here. I'll press on that. And that will show us kind of our vendor-specific KPIs. So it's called our vendor dashboard. We can see our purchase trends based this month versus last. We can modify the period, but we can see we're up 20%. We've been purchasing more and more, or item prices have increased and we've been spending more and more with this vendor. Our AP balance, all of our contact details, our balance unbilled, any information that's relevant, we have the ability to put in on their specific dashboard. So we have full insights on what's going on. How do we stay up to date with this vendor? Top 5 items we're purchasing. So we can see this vendor is specifically just this extension switch we're buying from them. Multiple purchase orders, item receipts, and payments being made to them. A similar thing can be found on the customer as well. So if you ever want to see for a specific customer, what's going on, what are the main KPIs, what's new with them, what are their contact details, it's really nice having this dashboard, consolidating all of the important information in one place. Jump back to my purchase order, and I'll go to my related records tab, and that will show us our item receipts. So we know we've received the items on order, and our bill that is now paid in full So not only have we created the purchase order, received the items, but we've also paid for them. And I'll open these up in two news tabs so that we can all take a quick look at what that looks like. Here's our item receipt, where we've determined the location that we're receiving this quantity into and the cost of this. And then finally our bill for the items, the quantity, and the amount that we have purchased. Okay, I know we just have 4 minutes left. So I'd love to open up the floor to any questions or concerns at this point that we can get answered. Jesse, have there been any questions at all? You're on mute.
Sorry. One about there's a comment around field service application.
Yes, so NetSuite does have what are called suite apps as well as their own. So they just acquired a company called Next Technica, I believe is the name.
Correct.
Yep, bringing in field service functionality. And then the suite apps that we would have talked about on previous calls is also available. So those would be partners like Amplify, who have identified gaps within NetSuite and have built out full solutions to the problem that we can install.
Yeah, so there's a partnership called SDN, which is Suite Developer Network or something like that, and that allows for partners to build out on the NetSuite platform functional modules that sit and reside within NetSuite, so it looks and feels like you wouldn't know that it's a third party that's built an application. That was the case with Next Technic. It was actually a family business that had a big requirement around field service, and so they had built out within NetSuite the capabilities around field service, and they got big enough and important enough that NetSuite purchased that suite app, and so they've been integrating that from a billing and pricing and all that stuff over the last several months since they acquired that suite app. So that's kind of the background of how that world works in the NetSuite ecosystem.
Yeah, I'll just add there, really drive in how it really does look and feel. The end user would not know it's different from out of the box generic NetSuite modules. It all lives within the same interface and integrates nicely. So it flows.
Nothing else there, Josh?
All right. Well, I guess we should point out that next week we have our live insight into Acumatica.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and
please,
for me, if you're in the ERP space, for me, it really always starts with what are the business requirements of your business. And at the end of the day, if you have a very good concrete understanding of what those business requirements are for your system, go out and put those requirements, to the test, whether it's NetSuite, Acumatica, or any other ERP out there, and ensure that you ask the smart questions, which is how much of this is out of the box versus customized from a demo perspective, um, and kind of see for yourself that those requirements can be met by the system, and ask those type of questions. Ultimately, make the best educated. No system's going to be perfect, um, and but as long as you go into it with your eyes wide open, you're going to be able to um, you know, budget accordingly and plan accordingly from a timelines, implementation, project management, change management perspective. So that's everything for us today. If you have further questions around NetSuite, if you're looking for a more customized demo, Josh is always available. I'm available. Jamie's available. The team's available. So please reach out, and thank you everyone for joining us for this lunch period.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.